Ooh,
All
cool.
right. Excellent. We're back up. Hello. Oh, good. Hopefully nobody's too loud. The last live stream, somebody was much too loud. That was not good. And it was me.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to, yeah,
I was gonna say,
yeah,
I think you
gonna,
peaked, you definitely peaked a few times.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Audio mixer closed. So, we just finished uh, Viperia Victorium. So
Hmm.
next is Shell Shock the Obliterator. Yes. Let me give you the link here, Matt.
Thank you
Uh,
very much.
this is a very interesting. Yeah. So this is Dracos. Has is this is the creator here? Uh, it's a right. So okay. So let me just read this sentence here. The survivor of species self-mutating turtle-like crustaceous reptiles, once a guardian of Earth sent to the abyss for his lack of compassion and restraint, now rises from his watery tomb and is going to rid his world of the human parasites. Get ready for shell shock. Um, so
Oh my.
lots of ideas there. I think we'd probably want to thin that down a bit. Um, the good news is that this is a big, sweet, golden, cool, lizardy thing. I think there's a lot here to like. Um,
Yeah.
it is. I think I'd really want to focus on one motivation, right? Like, if you want to wipe out all humans, that's fine. That's plenty of motivation. I don't think it necessarily has to be self-mutating. It doesn't have to be a turtle. It doesn't have to be ancient. It doesn't have to have used to have been a guardian. I think just I want to wipe out all humans is enough motivation. Um,
Mhm.
I like there's a lot of stuff that goes on here in the description about sort of alternating defensive and offensive combat maneuvers. It says fighting like a lobster, which I thought was kind of funny to consider. But I like that because that goes in the name, shell shock. So it's like I use my shell and I wait and then I attack you. That's the shock. That's the kinetic portion. Um, but it's not electrical, right? It's uh, yeah, so I thought in this case, the name is the thing that kind of like lets me know too. Shell Shock has a big shell and has like cool defensive options, and you kind of like what makes you successful if you're playing this character is mixing up your defensive actions with your offensive actions, and I think that's a good core. I like that core a lot. Um,
Mhm.
I'd want to simplify a bit. Um, do you have comments on the visual here?
Yeah, the visuals, I really do like this really does look like something that Ultraman would fight. Like it has a very classic looking kaiju stance to it. I like the big crazy claws. I like the weird shell on its back.
The weird
Um,
shell is really compelling for
yeah,
some reason.
I really like the art by Woodzilla, which is the little the just the colored pencil sketch. That's the design that speaks to me the most. Um, I would say that the the only thing that I would probably change is maybe it's supposed to be a turtle, right? Or kind of.
So it does mention the word turtle sometimes. Yeah.
Hmm. I think that if you just wanted to make a big crazy looking sea monster with it that uses its shell in conjunction with its weapons, I think that you don't it doesn't necessarily have to be a turtle. So I would maybe yeah refine the look of the shell a little bit to make it a little more conservative and a little less like wings.
Right.
Um, I like the shape of the shell in the big drawing by the creator by Dracos.
Right.
But yeah, other than that, yeah, I like it. I might change the color. I would maybe change the color palette a little bit too because it's a little all over the place. But
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
other than
I
that,
think. I
no.
think. I think drawing. I think in general, just drawing the character back a little, just simplifying and focusing on the stuff that's good is yeah. All right. You're up next, Matt.
Okie dokie. The next monster on the docket for me, if I can find him, is the aptly named Sword Shark. Uh,
I believe Sword Shark is actually one of our SPN3 winners. So
oh,
we're going to be
nice.
getting a card of this one.
Yeah, the G and G fan or
Right.
G something
Yep.
G fan
G and
is
G fan.
G&G fan is the creator of Sword Shark, and now this one I'm a little torn on because again, like Sea Devil, it is it's a very classic looking monster. It's very appropriately proportioned. I like the fact that it's basically just a giant upright shark. Um, the problem is there's already kind of a couple of those. Like we have Giga Shark already,
Right.
and and it kind of is reminding me a bit of a mix of Zegra and Guron and Knifehead.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's also a big, several pointed, sharp-nosed shark monsters in Ultraman, like Geoshark, and there's another one whose name is escaping me. But yeah, so on the one hand, it's like my knee-jerk reaction is that I really like the monster, but it's kind of been done.
Hmm.
I do, you know, I'm not one to say that we should write off all shark monsters. That there could be a way that we could twist it to kind of make it a little more unique, like play up some other species of shark as the basis. I do like the idea of the origin of the creature seeking revenge for its mate being murdered.
Okay.
Uh, that's a really kind of a cool idea. I'm not crazy about the details, like for example, a nuclear submarine searching for potential countries to wage war with. That's not what submarines do. Um, but still, though, the idea that like maybe this was a sub that was kind of lost at sea or something. Well, subs don't really get lost, but
Right.
the idea of the monster's mate being killed and then it goes to the surface to seek vengeance for the death of its mate. I think that that's a really cool idea. You know what it makes me think of? It makes me think of the movie Orca by Dino De Laurentiis.
Okay. I've not seen that, but
It's crazy. It's a crazy, crazy movie. It's
well,
really good.
so for my parts, I love the name Sword Shark. I think it's like that's like
I don't, but
Sword
okay.
Shark. I love that. I love that name. It's like I'm like, what's Sword Shark like? Oh, it's a big shark with a sword. Oh, like I I really like that. I think that's me. So the thing I like about Sword Shark is that Sword Shark is a lot more sharky than others. Like yeah, I mean Giga Shark has some shark features. Look, Giga Shark looks like a person with like a fin and a tail thing, but like especially the way this art is laid out, like it has kind of the flow of a shark. I like that. You know, like there's a lot more emphasis on the tail than there is on most monsters, and the tail, because of the posture, kind of like flows out to be more horizontal with the ground, which is I think kind of interesting. Um,
Yeah.
I do. We have done sharks. It does look like knife head. It does look. I mean, you know, sharks have been done. Sharks are scary. But I think there's room for more sharks, and I love the on the noseness, pun
Yeah.
intended, of the sword shark. So I'm a fan of that part. Um,
Yeah.
so my next one is Vikenti, the nuclear abomination. I'm gonna give you the link, Matt.
See. See.
Vikenti, and put it in the shout box. Boom. Okay, so there are no images on this one, so you just have to talk about it. So, uh, okay, so this one it has some really cool bits. It's a giant skeleton that's discovered, and the UN, I didn't know they were in this business, but they decide that they can mystically revive it. And just as they mystically revive it, Russia drops a nuclear bomb on it.
Oh, awesome.
So you've got this, you know, mystic and nuclear fusion that comes together to animate a big skeleton.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it sounds really cool. I was like, yay, the goes. And then I was like, isn't that exactly the same as Enenra? And isn't that also
Yeah.
almost kind of exactly the same as Vogeladra? Which is interesting. I mean, like, you know, mystic and science together, especially, and you know, for super science, like atomic bombs are still kind of the high end of some science stuff. So, like, I feel like that's been done a little bit. Not that it's a bad idea; it's a good idea. You know, since I myself, you know, keep coming back to it. Um, but it's, you know, it's a skeletal mystic nuclear thing. Uh, so I would want to make sure we do this. Now in the description it says it's covered in white flame, which I think is really cool. And the others are not covered in white flame. And you know, white nuclear flame sounds pretty awesome. And it definitely has like some a mystical aspect to it too. Uh, yeah, I I think coming up with a strong silhouette for this, like maybe making it more of a quadruped, or making it clearly different from the other mystic nuclear sort of characters we have, who are all fairly upright, I think would be key to make sure that it keeps its own identity. Matt?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as you were describing it, I just started thinking, oh, this is so cool. Oh, this is awesome. And then I thought about it and I realized, oh, this is like Vogeladra.
Yes.
That's a shame.
Which is an awesome thing that we did.
Yes.
Awesome things are still awesome, but yes.
The thing that kind of struck me, though, that visually, the first thing that actually came to my mind that actually would kind of make this thing different enough, but also really creepy, is I think that it should look like a giant human skeleton. And specifically because I was reminded, like, the image just kind of flashed in my head, and I immediately thought of the Gashadokuro, which is the giant, a giant skeleton in yokai and Japanese yokai folklore, and it's a giant skeleton created from gathering the bones of people who have died of starvation. So the idea that it's a giant skeleton, and you don't know what it is. It's just this giant skeleton of a person or a very person-like creature, and just being wreathed in flame. That's terrifying.
Okay.
Like, that's legitimately horrible. I mean, we have, again, that's very similar to I'm sorry, what's our blob monster's name?
Maladra.
Maladra, thank you.
Yep.
That is similar to Maladra in the whole human skeleton aspect, but I don't know, just kind of by itself, that kind of jumped out at me in my own brain. But there's other ways we could do it. But yeah, no, I like that conceptually a lot.
Yep,
It reminds me of Frankenstein Conquers the World.
Okay. All right, that was mine, right? I think so.
Yes, sir. That was one of yours.
All right. So what you got next?
Okay, next one I got is... Okay, this next one is by Godzilla 1954, and the creature's name is Serpentina, the deadly diamondback. Now, the basic origin, is kind of very odd. It's about a greedy teenager named Tina Diamondback. This sounds like something out of Gem and the Holograms.
Gem and the Holograms.
Yeah, I'm dropping the references.
Oh, I loved that when I was a kid. Okay.
Yes. So this Tina Diamondback was living in Las Vegas and would do anything for money. And then all changed one day when she was offered $30 million to lie in a tank filled with 10 fully grown diamondback rattlesnakes. Now, that's freaking stupid, but I do know that there are people who would totally do that. I might change that origin to just being like a reality show or something, but then it totally goes wrong, and she's never actually supposed to be in the same space as the rattlesnakes. It was all supposed to be trick photography, but somebody accidentally dumped a whole bunch of rattlesnakes in with her. That's what I would do. That's what I would change. And when she tried to escape, 3 rattlesnakes. This is something I don't understand. Why it's important that only 3 rattlesnakes bit her?
Yeah.
Because then she was taken to the hospital, where instead of being treated by a doctor, she's treated by a mad scientist who gave her a crazy potion stuff.
Why does that mad scientist? Why is he allowed to have a lab right next to the hospital? It seems like poor city planning.
Yeah, and then it says, due to being bit by 3 rattlesnakes, she has grown 6 arms. That's not okay. That's just so weirdly specific, and I don't really think that really works. But the idea, I do like the idea, that the sheer audacity of it being like a crazy dare. See, here's how you rewrite that. I've already figured it out. Here's how you rewrite it. you have this girl, and she's this crazy, dumb teen because America's full of them, and it's this part, it's part of some reality show. She takes the dare to get in a tank full of rattlesnakes. Not supposed to be they're not actually supposed to happen, but there's supposedly a mistake happens, and she actually is put in with all these rattlesnakes. They bite the hell out of her. She's rushed to the hospital, but this was all a plan by this was actually set up in advance by this crazy scientist who's masquerading as a doctor.
Okay.
Who then
Can I say somebody who's trying to mutate people? That is not a scientist. That's a sociopath. Okay, I'm just.
Hey, he self-identifies as a scientist. You
All
respect
right.
his wishes.
All right.
So okay, so anyway, he makes this giant rattlesnake monster, and okay, so from a design perspective, just real quick while we're on a roll, I like the art first of all. It's could use some refinement, but the drawing is generally actually pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of a He-Man villain, which one of the Snake Men, which I think is actually awesome.
Yeah.
But it doesn't read as a woman though. I mean reptiles don't have mammary glands, but they also don't have pectorals and they don't have opposable thumbs. So
And I don't think they have 6 arms, do they? Most snakes
no,
have
and
just
that's the
0.
weird thing. It's like
So,
to specify the writer specifies that because she was bitten by 3 snakes, that meant she had
no.
6 arms.
Once again, being very specific just makes it less good. So
Yeah, it makes it more difficult to sell it as a concept. So, I do like the idea of it being a giant human snake hybrid. You can work out some other little details about why it maybe has some crazy extremities. It does need to have a more feminine figure, maybe not just big bare breasts dangling around, but it does need to read as female if it is a human mutation.
yeah.
Or at least a direct human mutation. I mean, you have something like Maladra, it's not as important,
Right.
but yeah. So yeah, I mean, overall though, it's kind of there's some potential to this just crazy idea. So yeah,
Okay.
Simon, thoughts?
I think it is. I think the big artwork, like, it reads really well. I like the 6 arms. I like the snake thing. It actually really looks like a Gila monster to me in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But I think it's strong enough that we would kind of gloss over the origin story and focus more. I'd like to see more development on sort of the weapons, because I feel like really to be that kaiju thing, we need some weapons. I feel when I look at this artwork, it feels like it's human sized. I don't necessarily see monster sized, so we want to emphasize that as well.
Yeah.
All right, next one, Parastrike, the parasitic bounty hunter. So once again, I'm a sucker for a great name, and Parastrike, that is awesome. I don't know if it's a kaiju name, but that is sweet. It blends a few different ways. So Parastrike, I think, is really cool. That is a very strong start right there.
Yeah.
And the art is cool. Have this sort of titanious armor, kind of humanoid bounty hunter. Got a little bit of a Boba Fett vibe going on. Although its origin story is a little more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's like, was trained by his master, but then his master was evil, and so he tried to kill himself. And then he was revived. Then they're like, "Don't kill yourself. Fight for us." And he's like, "Okay." So I don't really know what the point of this character is. Parastrike is a great name. The general look of it, I like a bunch. Although I think we're definitely on that line again of human superhero versus kaiju. But I don't really know what you're fighting for. I love the big barbed tail and like the one big barbed claw thing, or maybe both of them are as big. Maybe perspective is just messing with it. I think there's a bunch of cool stuff there. I'd want to make sure we wrap it a little bit and give it a little more meaning. I feel like it's lacking a bit in sort of goals. Like what are his goals? Like, I'm a giant bounty hunter, badass kaiju. Like that's not enough. I need something so I care. I'm like, I'm gonna play as you to prove to people that you're not worthless, or I'm playing as this character because I personally identify with being a huge bounty hunter. I want people to get excited. I love it when people tell little stories in their head. Like, when I play as Mecha King Ghidorah and save the Earth, I'm like, I will stop you from destroying the city because I'm Mecha King Ghidorah and I'm, work for the GDF.
Yeah.
Yes. Thoughts, Matt?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you in that it is very much it just looks like Scorpion right now
Yeah, sure.
from Spider-Man. It's not very, it just doesn't really read like a kaiju. I mean, the idea of a big scorpion-looking monster is a cool one, and we would make that change. And also, the whole idea of it being a bounty hunter and everything, yeah, that doesn't really read as a kaiju as well. It reads more like a Sentai villain, and Sentai villains only grow gigantic at the end of the episode, and they only read as gigantic because they're standing next to buildings.
Right.
With a kaiju game, you have to kind of ride that line to where it looks gigantic without it having to stand next to anything. And we did Ikamajin, and Ikamajin definitely skirts that line, but I think that it still feels giant enough to where it still looks like a giant monster. But yeah, I'm not crazy about this guy. I think that we would need to make some changes. Again, I like the name, like you said, and I like the idea of it being kind of a scorpion-esque creature. We would just need to definitely change some things.
So since I have a few more than you do, I'm going to double up right now.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
I'm gonna go again.
Right.
I'm gonna do Spike, the loudmouth, or the loudmouthed something, the loudmouthed idiot. So this is another Chernobyl 01. I guess you're getting two monsters. This is this is kind of silly. This is kind of like a anti-authoritarian kind of character submission thing. Like, there's all this stuff in here that I get a big Deadpool vibe from this character. Doesn't really seem like a kaiju at all. Kind of seems like a funny cartoon character to me, more than an actual kaiju who that would ever be in a game. He's foul-mouthed. Well, I mean, if he's speaking and thinking and making jokes, like, that seems interesting. He's also just very Godzilla's, like, got a plasma ray, was hatched from an egg. There's a lot of sort of stuff in there. There's also actually, so we've complained about too much specificity, kind of killing it. This has the most interesting specificity I've seen. In his grappling description, says, update, his grappling strength is now 125,000 tons to 276,000 tons. Those are wildly specific numbers, neither of which fit within the range that we actually use in the game at all. So on the one hand, I want to say this character seems completely inappropriate for Colossal Kaiju Combat. On the other hand, I don't really think it's trying to be an appropriate character for Colossal Kaiju Combat. I think it's someone just like, my character is, is sarcastic and foul-mouthed and does whatever he wants. Mm-hmm. And so I can't really argue. Like, if you want to be like this, I don't think this is the kind of character we're looking for in Colossal Kaiju Combat. But on the other hand, I can't say there's anything wrong with it because you're doing exactly what you want. So, kudos for that.
Yeah. That's a good point. I don't know if you were done or not.
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I'm in agreement. It's a creature that, yeah, I mean, this is the sort of thing that if we did something like this, we could only do it once, and it would have to be this. This would be like the Deadpool of our kaiju universe. This weird giant talking monster. That kind of looks like Carnage right now, and I'm not crazy about that.
Yeah, he's also very similar to Komododon, who's nicknamed Spike.
Oh,
just put that out there as well. So
yeah, we definitely have to change the name. It's just I mean, that's you pretty much nailed it. It's like one of those things where if we did it, it's the only time we could do it, and we would have to kind of sell the idea that, yeah, this is a wildly inappropriate creature that doesn't really belong in this universe, but still kind of works.
Right. Just to prove that we can put anything in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What is next?
Okay, next for me is let me make sure. Is Black Crystal, the Crystal
Yes,
Flu.
by Shagoth. Shagoth. I don't know how to say that name.
Yes. Shagoth, I think, is the intended
Okay. Yep.
thing. Okay, so the basic setup for this character is a monster that was mutated by the Crystal Incursion in 2007, which to me is, I guess, it's supposed to be the Godzilla Unleashed events.
Possibly.
That's what. Well, that's generally what the fandom refers to as is the Crystal Incursion.
Okay.
Um, she has black crystals on her back. She is not very strong in close combat, though has a large tail that she uses. Black Crystal mainly uses her crystals that sprout from the ground, and her crystal breathe. I think it's supposed to be breath.
Sure.
Despite her weak close combat system, she does have a large rolling attack, claws, and kick. There's a whole thing about it's kind of a really overly complicated origin, mentioning some kind of creature called
Ravager. I think that's one of our SPN3 cards. I'm going to step away. You keep going.
Okay. And so, it's a little overly complicated that this is apparently just the origin is just kind of all over the place, to be honest. A large female lizard that is apparently also mutated by these crystals. It just feels like one of those things that could definitely go through some refinement. I do kind of like the basic shape of the body in the copyright icon on the sponsorship page. That kind of feels a little bit more like a proper kaiju. But at the same time, I'm worried that overall it's a little too close to Crystallock, and we would also have to really work to make it really different from our other monsters that already have crystal-like protrusions or crystal-like aspects of their bodies. Actually, when I look at it and I see that it has these big crystals growing out of its back, I immediately think, oh, you know what? This could be a cool counterpoint to one of our other existing monsters, whom I have not talked about in a while. So please bear with me, folks. I have to go back and find, while I sit here and vamp like a jackass. Talagon. Thank you. Talagon also is a large a large reptile with these crystals kind of jutting out of its body. And I think if we kind of made like a dark crystal counterpoint to Talagon, I think that would actually be really cool. If that was what we did, though, Black Crystal would definitely need a new name, because Black Crystal is a little too,
All right.
But yeah, I don't know if you caught any of that.
I caught none of that. I was momentarily had to go be a parent. So
right on. Parenthood. Yeah, in a nutshell, I think that this character would work best if we made it a counterpoint to Talagon.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
I like that.
Because Talagon is a creature with
like a bunch of crystals that got a lizard stuck in it. Okay.
Yes, a lizard with crystal. I just got that.
Yes.
I just got that. No. I think that if it was since Talagon uses solar energy,
right.
It feels as though it'd be really cool if this character used a kind of a dark crystal energy, some kind of counterpoint energy to Talagon's.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, that's my impression.
All right. Next one, Navigora, the living airship.
Oh Lord.
Yes, by Glacius TS. This is pretty cool. And once again, the thing that makes it cool. So it's basically like a big flying jellyfish. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it sort of like the key point in the origin is that it's really energy efficient. Just kind of like sucks in the atmosphere of the Earth and generates energy from it, but doesn't use the hydrogen. And so the hydrogen kind of builds up, creating this huge gas sac that lets it float around. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the hydrogen itself can be used as a weapon or to power other things, right? So it's like just creating energy out of nothing. It's, ridiculous science fiction-y. Actually, let's see if I can find the parts. Yes, it says it burns the oxygen. I'm like, you can't burn oxygen. Burning, okay. It's like adding oxygen to something is what burning is. You can't. Okay, that's like burning fire. But you ignore the fact that obviously it's impossible. It's a kaiju, whatever. But it has this amazing power source, right? And so that people try to like lure it out into the ocean to try to get rid of it, but then it starts sucking up all these oil rigs, right? So these energy companies, they want to analyze it and figure out how to create all this energy just out of the atmosphere, right? Because that'd be awesome. But it's destroying the oil rigs that's hurting these energy companies, right? And so they want to destroy it, but they also want to study it, and it's got this good thing, and it's like not clear, why was it sent here? Was it sent here to destroy us and wipe us out? Or was it sent here to teach us how to create energy in this way? I think that's pretty cool, and it seems very sort of passive. I'm not sure that this is a playable character. I think it's a great thing to have in the universe. I think it could be a really cool like stage that you fight in, or a feature of a stage, like in Godzilla Unleashed we had the battle against the mothership.
Yeah.
But it's very sort of passive in the way it's described, and it's sort of interesting. It's like a puzzle to figure out, and I think it's a great plot point. I'm not sure if it's a playable character. I don't know if that's really the best way to use it. Thoughts?
I'm kind of in the same. I'm kind of on the same page. I actually like the art.
Beautiful. I like the name as well. I think that's cool.
I like the name. I like the art. I like the basic concept of a giant jellyfish. Yeah, if it's this, you pretty much just nailed it. If it's just this big passive creature, then it's not really reading as a monster that you would fight. Although it would be kind of interesting to see this thing just kind of floating along the battlefield, and then your monster, is trying to figure out how to fight it or figure out how to defeat it. But yeah, I mean, it'd definitely be something that we'd have to sit down and really think about. Think about how we were going to integrate it into the broader franchise.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Well said. All right, what you got next?
My next monster is Deep Dweller, the Abyssal Wanderer.
And,
yes.
Abyssal. This is a great word.
Abyssal. This is by Zilla of Sumpter. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
Zilla of Sumpter.
Yes. I'm going to get to the origin in a minute, but for the first part, the idea of a giant, like an anglerfish style monster, is a really great idea. I don't think it's been done before, and if it has, not exactly like this, but
we have like sort of the viperfish with Hofopepe, but this is a very muscular kind of take on it. It's very different.
It's a very classical style kaiju. Very much looks like a guy in a suit could be put in there. Out of all of these drawings and illustrations, well, first of all, I love Dope Pope's little details on there, like the flare on the little angler dongle thingy. But the best illustration is there's a lot of broken image links on this page, so I don't know if it's represented anywhere else.
Okay.
But the illustration on the second YouTube video, which says Deep Dweller Roars 2,
okay,
there's a secondary illustration that I think is the best one, because it doesn't really, it kind of gives him this very a thicker head and a thicker neck. Okay. And that would be the big thing that I would change about the design, is maybe make it look a little less like Godzilla or Titanosaurus and make it look a little more like a giant bipedal anglerfish.
Okay.
That's really the only major thing I would change. I would maybe change some of the little details, but yeah, generally I really like the idea, and I love the look of the monster. The origin, there was the basic gist of the origin is there was a submarine called the Deep Dweller. It went under the ocean because it was going to explore the bottom of the ocean, and then it goes in an underground cave and then finds a giant monster. The giant monster kills the submarine, and then the giant monster goes. It's been done before. We can still do something deep sea monster. I mean, that's the basic impetus of the creature, but we can come up with something better than that. we can come up with something that has a little more flair to it and has a little more uniqueness to the origin, where it's not just a giant deep sea monster. So that's my take on it. Simon?
Um, so okay, so I think it looks really cool. Uh,
Mm.
Looking through the combat section, and I'm just reading this now, but I think a big opportunity has been missed because the whole point of an anglerfish is that it lives in the darkness.
Yeah.
Right. That's the whole thing. Right. It lives in the darkness and it like attracts things, lures them into the light. I would totally want to have like some sort of attacks or powers that like darken the stage so you can't see what's going on.
Oh, that would
Right.
actually be
And
really
have
cool.
like huge like um, yeah. Yeah, some sort of darkening everything, and then like beams cutting through, or like where's it going? And then it appears in one of 4 different places and blasts you with energy coming through. But I think that sort of thing, like the disappearing into darkness. Where is it? Oh, it's so dark. I don't know what's going on. Like you got to have some of that. Like it's an anglerfish. You need that play between dark and light, illumination and visibility and invisibility. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I like it.
yep. All right, next, Maximum Gaiden. Giant. Oh no, Aram
Oh,
page here.
no.
Yes, Maximum Gaiden. See what? No, we're still under. We've got time. Oh, and let me give you the link as well, Matt.
Thank you.
Yes. Uh, Big character. So, for anybody who's trying to contact me via Skype or other instant messaging things, now is not a good time. So, please stop trying. Um, yeah. So, okay, I love just first things. Uh, I love the names of the attacks: swagger strikes, dope drop kicks, kick-ass kicks, shoot bangers, power gloves. Like that tells me a lot about the character right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's another parallel dimension character, kind of like the frozen moth that we talked about earlier. Uh, yeah. So he, and in his universe, he has defeated all the kaiju and made the world safe for humans, right? But then he's like, oh, but I am built for battle. There has to be more battle for me somewhere. What am I gonna do? And so then he finds our parallel universe. He's like, hooray, more battle! And he jumps on over, and here he comes. Uh, and he runs on the combined happiness of all the children in the world.
I
Yes.
love it.
Um, so yeah, he so he's a robot. He's a big robot. He's a battle robot. Uh, there's not a lot there. There's nothing wrong with it. There's not a lot there to hang things on. So yeah.
You know who this is? This is a
Who is that?
rival for Mechabaz.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's just the first thing that jumps to mind for me of a giant robot, giant, very humanoid robot. It has a primarily red and silver color scheme. It's come to this new universe looking for challenges, and it has these crazy attack names. This is part of the new giant robot, giant monster wrestling federation kicked off by Mechabaz.
Okay. Yeah.
That's my take.
Okay. I like that. Sure.
That's all I got.
Okay. Let me double up again because I want to get through. Oh, man, we've only got 30 minutes left, and I still have like 8 to go. So next one is Savagala, who people are well familiar with. This is Wei 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 Zing's character, and was a card in SPN 2, and so big two-headed lizard. So I'm going to try to go quick about this because I've already thought about this character a lot. So we changed the way the character looked for the cards as opposed to the original. The original sort of had like half lizard body and then half kind of like embering, burning mechanical body, and then also like stony magma hands and feet. And for me, I didn't care for that. I thought that was a little bit confusing. It felt like 3 elements smushed together, but sort of the story was all about the dual purpose and like two. And I'm like, oh, we really need two. I mean, it's like Two-Face, right? In Batman, like it's always this or that, one or the other. You know, the organic or the mechanical. And so we went with more of a hybrid thing. We in the card we went with kind of like an Aztec stone half and then a lizard half. And the idea is like the lizard half was grown to be a fighter, but wasn't good enough, right? And got ripped in half, right? But like what was not good enough by itself, when merged with this other thing, becomes very powerful. And so the burning hands and feet, which a lot of people said was a key element that I just eliminated. I felt like that didn't have anything to do with the fact that it has two heads, right? It has two approaches. It has two different ways of interpreting things. Like if it's going to fight somebody, it's like, well, let's try this. Oh, that didn't work. Well, let's try this. Maybe that'll be better. Like, you know, two heads are better than one. It has these two different ideas, two different approaches. I feel like exploring that binary, you know, approach to everything and sort of the relationship and, you know.
Keep talking, Simon.
Yeah. I feel like that's really the key thing that we need to go after. I don't know why giving it fire gauntlets. For me, that just kind of weakens it. Like, you know, it's like if you have a character who's really has an interesting combat style and really interesting like kung fu origin and so forth, and then laser guns, like that undermines the thing you built that was really cool. So that's why I wanted to cut the magma limbs. So for people who wondered why I wanted to cut the magma limbs, I think really focusing on the duality and the two different things kind of like competing for each other, but also working together. I thought that was what made it interesting. So,
yeah.
Comments?
I see this guy pop up in my feed every now and then,
Yes.
and I really want to draw him. Like, I really love the look of this thing with its crazy reptilian half and then this weird Mayan Aztec rock half. And I don't know. Yeah, the magma limbs, they are a little arbitrary, but they are really cool though. So
Yes.
it's just, you know, it's just one of those things where I'd have to I would hope to one day get my hands on him and actually try to
we're
you know,
starting the progenitor vote on Thursday. He
Mhm.
is up. He is one of the people who is up to be voted into being a progenitor. So, yeah, that could happen.
Well, I like it. I'm excited about that possibility. Yeah, there's really not a whole lot I would change. I mean, there might be some little refinements or something I would make, but no, generally I like it. I like the direction.
All right, what's your next one, Matt?
Okay, I've got 3 more, and you've got 7 more.
Yep.
All right. So the next guy on my list is by Agent Bubster.
Okay.
And the monster is Plantanium, the mutated plant monster. And right off the bat, I kind of like this thing because it has a carrot hand and a pumpkin head and a giant sunflower coming out of its back.
I did not realize that hand was a carrot, but now that you say it, I see it.
Yeah, it looks like carrots. So looking at this thing, it's not just a plant monster. It's like a household garden plant monster. Like,
yeah, it's got an asparagus tail, some root feet. Yeah.
He uses the sunflower in his back to shoot acidic lemon juice at his enemies. It's so silly and ridiculous. It makes me think of Mulligan.
Yeah.
And I like the origin kind of being like this guy who found a rare species of pumpkin that has a nuclear pulse in its stem.
Okay.
And then it got put away by scientists. And then it infected the plant collection that Leo had, and then the creature, like, you know, becomes sentient, and it's just such a ridiculous monster, and I really like it.
Okay.
I mean, they're you know, it would go through the Matt Frank filter, and I'd probably change a few things, but not generally much. And it's so dumb and silly. I love it.
So if we were going to go ahead with this character,
Mm-hmm.
I would not I would want to go totally serious with it. I mean, like we did with Mulligan, right? I mean, Mulligan
Uh-huh.
is ridiculous, but we play it totally straight,
Yeah.
right? Whereas, like, we Duncan, we play for laughs. Mechabaz, you play it for laughs. But like Mulligan's like, no, no, he's a golf elemental. No, it's serious. That's totally how I'd want to go with this. I want to be like, oh no, the nuclear pumpkins, right? Yeah, you got to look out for those, right? I'd play it. Oh, its body is a tomato. Um, yeah, I
I
would want to
didn't
be.
realize that. Oh, that's awesome.
I want to be really, really serious about it because I think that accentuates the humor. And I think actually you hit on a really key point, which is that the fact that all the plant elements are like very normal things, and specifically they're all foods that humans eat. I can see this. I can see this teaming up with Yemyek, the giant potato monster that wants to kill all humans.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
yeah,
Kill all humans.
kill them all.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You want to go ahead?
Yes, please.
All right.
Next one. It's interesting. For all the number of times I've said this or typed it out, I'm not positive how to pronounce it. But it's Scopius. The by Scopius.
Send it my way.
Yep, sending it your way.
Cool.
The fungal evil is the backup. It's a scorpion. It's a scorpion that has been infected by an evil fungus thing that gives it kind of a spore attack sort of thing. Yeah, but I don't know. So I think that this is actually a pretty strong. I think this is a pretty strong just visual concept. Because I mean, scorpions are awesome, right? You see a scorpion, you're like, yes, great, it's a scorpion. But the fact that it's mutated and infected with this fungus thing just makes it look dangerous. I mean, anything. I mean, like the way a zombie looks dangerous, right? A zombie is a human, but then it's all gross and there's something wrong with it. So I think that sort of gross and there's something wrong with it visual aesthetic makes the scorpion look even more dangerous, especially because it's not defeating it, it's making it stronger. I'm actually reminded of I don't know who else knows about this. Maybe you do, Matt. But in the Hellboy BPRD spin-off, there were these frog monsters and the plague of frogs, and there was this giant mushroom deity that grew that would infect people with spores and turn them into frog monsters.
Oh God.
And that's what I see when I see this. It's like so I think mushrooms are sort of terrifying, right? As an enemy, because how do you hurt a mushroom, right? If you chop it up, you just made lots of little mushrooms, right? The spores just kind of spread and they just kind of grow in other things. It's kind of terrifying. I read a great article once about why Godzilla was a dumb monster, and they're like, Godzilla couldn't kill all humans because obviously he can kill any given human, right? But he's just not big enough compared to the size of the Earth, and there's only one of him, right? So even if he goes on a continuous rampage, 99.9% of the Earth is untouched by Godzilla's rampage, right? But so it's the really terrifying things are things like the puppet masters or aliens where they spread and grow and infect and transmit across things. That's the huge danger because you can't contain it. Whereas Godzilla is always contained because it's just one thing, right? Even though it's a very big thing. And so that's what's really scary for me is not so much that I'm not worried so much about this scorpion trampling my house. I'm worried that whatever got into it is going to get out. Right?
Yeah.
That's infecting everything else. What other monsters? What are that's... I don't know. I think there's a good sort of primal fear there. Infection, and scorpions are creepy already. So, yes.
Yeah.
So the one part that I think could really use some development is the weapons. It's clearly got a toxic theme, but I feel like there's some interesting things to be done with weapons here that's not really explored as much as it could be. So, anyway, that was a lot of talking. Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, hang on just a second. I was looking over it, and I do like the idea of it being this giant. Just the core concept is really a fun one, and I like how in the origin it is noted that Scorpius is a kaiju from the first era, which to me is as far as our own universe goes, that's the end of the Mesozoic. back.
Right.
And that was back when scorpions were friggin' huge.
Yep.
I mean, they were definitely bigger before that, but whatever, science, crap, science. Um, and the idea of being infected by the fungi, yeah, I mean, you noted a lot of that. The origin still needs some work, like the idea of a nuclear bomb going off and waking it up. Uh,
Sure.
you can't just have nukes just going off nowadays. I mean, especially if they're nukes made by NATO, because I don't think NATO makes nukes. Do they? I don't know.
I don't think so.
But
Anyway, okay.
yeah. Anyway, yeah. I mean, it actually kind of reminds me. I was actually a little worried at first because the idea of it being called the fungal evil reminded me that I actually made a fungus monster that was originally for Kaiju Land. I don't know if I can actually show it off anytime soon or not. I need to talk to Bill, who's in charge of Kaiju Land, as to whether or not that can be released back to me or not. But yeah, the fungi do make great monsters. So as we saw in The Last of Us. So yeah, I like it.
Cool. I'm gonna do one more because I'm feeling good about this. This is Solodoc Negro or Solodoc Negaro
Negaro
by Burkion.
I like the art.
Yeah. Oh, that was interesting. I go to post in the shout box, and Burkion just said, "Come on, do Negaro." So yeah, you called it. You got your wish. So Solodoc Negaro. Did I post it to you, Matt?
Yeah, I just got it.
There we go. So let me just say what's cool about it. So I don't know that I'm sold on the name. There's maybe some meaning there that I'm missing. Here's what I like about it. Is that this is a sort of a scout kaiju that works for this group, this alien species. Okay, and he kind of goes in and he successfully scouts a planet. Like that's what he's supposed to do, right? He scouts a planet. He says like, "Hooray! I scouted the planet." And right, and then his alien buddies will come in and just wipe out the planet, and he's like, "Uh-oh, I don't know how I feel about that."
Like the Silver Surfer, basically.
Yes, very much like the Silver Surfer, or I would say maybe like Invincible in the ongoing Invincible comics. I don't know if anyone reads that; it's pretty great. But it's like, oh, I see. That's okay. Maybe what I thought I was doing is not so good. And so then he kind of like leaves and runs away from them, and he comes to Earth, and he's like, "Oh, this is a nice place." And he's like, "Oh no, my people are totally going to come here and try to find this place. I need to like wait for another scout like me to come here to give them the word, and I need to like stop them before they can give that signal. So to defend the Earth, I think that's really cool. Turning against your former masters, wanting to save something, realizing that you yourself are still representing this threat." Wanting to, it's like I'm the only one who can stop because I know how to find other scouts like myself, or would know what signal to be, broadcasting on. Like I think that's really cool. Yeah, I don't know about the head crab feat, because we talked earlier that if you're going to be heroic, we need to sort of see the heroic. I really like the way I'm interpreting the visuals, that the hands are covered. So like they have the hands, but then their hands are covered, so you have these kind of like blunt punching surfaces, right, to protect your soft, fleshy appendages. But then they also come out so you can slash. I think that's pretty neat. Anyway, your thoughts, Matt?
Yeah. Again, I really, really, really like the art. That's more by Jacko M.
Who is this Jacko M? He's everywhere.
Who is he? I must destroy him.
Yes.
Yeah. On the one hand, there is a part of me that kind of wants to say, it's a little all over the place as far as the design goes, and as far as like being able to describe it in a nutshell. But because we're skirting that superhero kaiju line, it's not as important because I like the origin a lot. And I'm okay with this, being a little bit more on the superhero side of things. Yeah, it is. One thing that I would probably suggest is, I mean, it's been rebuilt. He's been rebuilt because he was damaged or whatever. He was almost killed.
Yep.
okay, so I'm inclined to say that he doesn't really read as a hero, but then he's not really supposed to.
Right,
So
right. He's a villain who's mentally transformed. Yeah.
right. Uh, I just feel like I would, if I were to sit down and really like tackle this guy, I would need to really think about how to interpret the design. Because yeah, the head crab feet are a little odd, and the head crab it looks really evil, but there needs to be something to signify that it is an evil character, formerly evil character that's trying to come over to the
Right.
side of
Trying to
justice.
atone. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. And
So,
maybe he's still generally evil. Maybe he just doesn't want his alien. He doesn't want them to destroy the planet. But maybe he doesn't care about the planet in general. Maybe he's like as long as my country doesn't blow you up, I don't really care about your well being.
well, this is something that would require a lot more thought.
Sure.
We have time.
I'm actually going to stop the live stream again, and then we'll come back for our third and final installment. So
Stay tuned.
hold on.
Hold on.